Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we investigated some of Nathaniel Grexis's associates because they had information on an individual we're looking for called the Savant. And now we have more information and have to talk to Captain Van Winter.
Did you verify the coordinates we had for that mysterious Savant?
I did, Inquisitor. It is on Dvorgov, a quarantine world still infested by Tyranids, which could spell trouble. Speaking of trouble, there is also an astropathic transmission for you from an Inquisitor of the Ordo Malleus.
I'm Inquisitor Corax, a demon hunter of the Ordo Malleus, and I require your immediate attention. We need your assistance in a most important matter. Find me on my stronghold in the Ventus system. Corax out.
Change of plans, Inquisitor?
No. If you ask me, the demon hunters are a secretive branch of the Inquisition with an exaggerated sense of self-importance. Corax can wait. I must find the Savant first.
Ooh, spicy. Thinking the Ordo Malleus is full of themselves.
Tech Priest, I need some ideas. How can I find a secret hideout in the desolate Void Port?
The decree of tech preservation guarantees the long-term maintenance of our sacred data vaults, even on worlds deemed temporarily uninhabitable.
If I understand you correctly, the Cogitator network must be functioning, and it could provide clues about the area.
The assumption is correct.
Oh, this is hazardous to my health. Tyranids. I will admit, I do think they could have been a bit more, I guess I'd say, horde-like.
Considering the adaptability of this race, the phenomenon is completely explicable.
I'm much more interested in why anyone would choose a Tyranid-infested city as a hideout.
Consider the Xenos presence as a defensive system.
Because, I mean, Rippers work as a horde, but I feel like Rippers should be a horde-y horde, while, you know, Termagants, Hormagaunts, those should be more standard horde. Because Rippers always come in swarms. While, you know, the Gaunts are, as Morbo says, belligerent and numerous. Can't wait for Darktide. I'm really hoping it's good, because I really don't want to wait even longer for another good Warhammer game. I mean, yeah, it's going to be another Left 4 Dead style game, which admittedly Fat Shark seems to do a lot of. And I will admit I am concerned about that, because it's... You do it once, okay. You have Vermintide, but then you just keep pumping out more games that are the same design. It starts to get a little concerning. The only hope is that because they keep doing it, they're ever improving. You know, the differences between Vermintide 1 and 2 are pretty noticeable and pretty good. So my hope would be that they would, you know, be looking at Vermintide 2 saying, okay, where can we upgrade for Darktide? Because that's really what the game needs, is they need to be ever improving, otherwise it's just not going to be worth the effort. And it does kind of concern me that, you know, all we get are effectively just Left 4 Dead games. Space Hulk, Deathwing, you know, Vermintide, Darktide, the last Warhammer game. I mean, the only other Warhammer games we get are Dawn of Wars, which I don't think we're going to be getting a Dawn of War 4. I'm going to guess for, like, at least 5 years, because Relic isn't going to try again, even though they very much should. They're going to look at it as like, oh, well, people didn't want it, so clearly nobody wants this game, instead of, hey, we really screwed this up. Because it's easier to just say the other people are out of touch, instead of saying, hey, it was my fault. But other than that, we had Total War Warhammer games. We had, in 2011, we had Space Marine. And that's about it. Everything else has been just absolute crap. Funny enough, though, Darktide, you could introduce a Tyranid chapter, or I'd rather have like a bigger section dedicated to Tyranids, just because no faction in 40k, or even in Warhammer Fantasy, should be just kind of a minor little side note. You know, there are no minor factions, which is both nice and kind of annoying.
Here's the sigils of the Adeptus Mechanicus. What happened here? This is interesting. This retinue was working for a techno-archaeologist. It could be the Savant we seek.
I presume the contingent was trying to eradicate the local Tyranids first.
Quite the contrary. They were trying to gain control of the Xenos population.
I keep an open mind, but even I find that idea hard to swallow. On another note, the data slate contains location tags for their home base.
Where is it?
We have no information as yet. The tech priest is working on it.
Well, that was a disappointing shot. I do wonder how Darktide's gonna do equipment. Is it going to be very simplistic, oh, this weapon deals more damage? Or is it going to be more Diablo, you know, here's your gun, it deals this extra damage, bonus against chaos demons, or bonus against humans, or whatever. You know, here's a stat bonus, and all this other stuff. Because if they do a Diablo-esque setup, I think it could be a very interesting game. It's just, you know, what are they gonna do? And I'll admit, I am a little biased because I love games where, you know, gear has different stats. I always love finding new stuff. To me, there's never such a thing as too much looting. Or at least I've never encountered a game where, you know, I feel like there's too much looting. I either find it's a good amount or not enough. Take your time. But, for instance, I've been playing Remnant from the Ashes, and I've been having a lot of fun with that. There are a few things I'd change about the game, you know. It's Souls-like, and that's great. I just wish it was more I wish it would lean a little more into kind of a Bloodborne style with like chalice dungeons and having variants of the same weapon and like the blood crystals that you could put on weapons to customize them and up different stats. Stuff like that would make it, just that little bit extra and boost the game, in my opinion. And that's something they could even do with Darktide, is you could find, like, single-use upgrades. So it's like a seal. Kind of like how Space Marines will have all these different seals on their armor, showcasing kind of, oh, I was here, did this is a notable thing in my past, or kind of a commendation you could have as the Imperial Guard equivalent. And as a result, you put it on a weapon and it's bound to that weapon, but you get stat ups. You could even include, some of these, I'm just going to call them commendations for simplicity's sake here, but some of these commendations could be, set bonuses. Battle of Armageddon set. You get certain bonuses on las guns. Or, they boost each other if they're all part of the Armageddon set. Or different things. You could definitely come up with certain things. It could be, like how a lot of these games work with set bonuses, where the more you have, you gain certain extra benefits. The Catachin Jungle Fighter set. When you melee kill an enemy, it has a chance of giving you health back. After having like 3 commendations on a weapon or equipped in total or on your armor. Little things that give you an interesting layer of customization and allow you to kind of tailor how you play a little more. Because they might do kind of a skill tree. I think of, how World War Z did their skills. And it wasn't bad, but it definitely needed work. And even that wouldn't be a bad groundwork to start off on. I do wonder if there's going to be, limits. Can I have 4 people playing Ogryns? Can I be, a team of thick-headed stupid boys who just smash things, or is it one Ogryn, one almost look like a Hospitaller, something for the Adeptus Sororitas, and stuff like that. Could we have that? Could it be almost, I say this as a D&D nerd, prestige classes? Your standard Imperial Guard, well, with certain, if you put points into a certain, Catachin Jungle Fighters, or even Catachin Devils tree, or you can you can unlock kind of an upgrade into that where you get special abilities as opposed to an Inquisitorial Stormtrooper, or as a, soldier for the Death Corps of Krieg. Different things like that. Krieg, it could be when bonus could be when you die or are incapacitated, you give your team a buff. As long as you're down, they get a damage up. Or for every teammate that's down, you get a damage up. Different things like that to allow you to flesh out characters, and you could go down different trees, but you have to, equip one or the other. There's possibilities, it's just don't know a lot at this time, and I mean, I can sit here and theory craft and come up with a billion ideas, but we have to wait and see what actually comes of it. I try not to get my hopes up too high because years of games overhyping have reached a point that's a toxicrin. I don't want to be fighting that. But just years of games overselling themselves, you reach a point where it's just like, okay, whatever. I am more likely to assume a game is going to suck, just so that if it does, I'm not surprised, and if it's good, I'm happy. I mean, Eternal Crusade, prime example. That game was... I mean, I've brought it up a billion times already, but it was billed as, effectively PlanetSide 2, but 40K. You'd think that'd be an easy one to do, and man, would it have been awesome. But we didn't get that. Hey, you should look at my, Angie invisible boys, or my holograms. Look at them while I sneak around you. Haha, nerd! Now you have to fight the turrets. Man, those turrets are tanky. Man, now that I think about it again, I miss the days where I was super hyped for Eternal Crusade. Don't know how they screwed it up. Genuinely don't. I mean, I know how they screwed it up. If I really felt like it, I could probably provide an itemized list. But I don't get how, from a studio development standpoint, I don't know how you screw it up. I remember when they said, oh, well, we can't do we have to do just little, mission or maps, effectively. We can't do the grand scale thing. Right there, it shouldn't have just been, oh, I guess we have to just settle. It should have been, okay, why can't we? From a studio perspective, should have been able to sit down and say, okay, why isn't this working? Is it your server infrastructure? Is it your engine? I mean, from what I saw, they're pretty much just yoinking the engine that PlanetSide had, so you'd think you'd be able to get everything you need there. Is it money? Because, honestly, and this is something I think they could have easily done, is say, look, we don't have the funds. People will spend money. If people know what's up, they'll give you the money for it.
The treacherous Savant has control of the entire system. He's trying to stop me.
At least you don't need any more proof that you are on the right track.
I mean, I've made that argument regarding EVE Online. People talked about, cosmetics and trying to make some extra money for the game, and I had said, if people are given good incentive, they'll spend money. And the same goes for Eternal Crusade. If it was, hey, we don't have the money, people will spend money if they know what's up, and they think they can help. And it's also the studio's responsibility to properly secure funds. They were going to work with Bandai Namco. Are you telling me Bandai Namco was just not giving them money? Because I highly, highly doubt that. You should be able to find investors willing to give you money for your project. And going from there, what's the problem? I think part of it was probably because they were trying to do every faction, it seemed. We're going to have a PvE Tyranids mode, we're going to have Space Marines and Orcs and Chaos and Eldar. No. It should have launched Chaos and Space Marines. Like Chaos and then normal Space Marines. Should have launched those two. Then you launch Orcs. Then you launch Eldar. You add factions when you have money. You don't add factions and then go, oh hell, I don't have the funds to complete any of this. If you're renovating parts of your house, you don't say, okay, we're going to finish the basement, we're going to finish the attic, we're going to rip all the cabinets out of the kitchen, we're going to redo the countertops, we're going to redo, the laundry room, all at the same time. No, we don't have the money for it all. We're just going to have to figure it out. No, you pick one, you say, okay, we're doing this. You get that done, you say, okay, now we are going to do this. You go part by part. Don't get how they screwed that up. Like, I can assume negligence? Maybe inexperience? I'm not going to say embezzling, because that's just a little too out there, realistically. Like, I just think they didn't plan for it. And I mean, the studio behavior, they've had a history of not doing well. Like, their product's not doing well. So it's not out of the realm of like, oh, these guys are just not that good. I think I have to defend a terminal here. Yeah, it's just, I don't get how studios can screw up. I say that and then I instantly backtrack it. I don't know how they can screw up, but I know how they can. I've discussed this about, Fallout 76 and Elder Scrolls Online. A buddy of mine does marketing. And he knows all about a lot of that kind of stuff, and he's listened to me complain for God knows how much time about when corporate gets involved. And one of the things we've discussed is focus groups. You see this with movies, you see this with games now, you see this with a lot of stuff. They use focus groups to effectively get an idea instead of focus groups figuring out if it's good.
Incoming transmission.
An attempt to communicate. Good. My target must be getting nervous.
You have entered Research Zone 17. Trespassing is strictly prohibited. You must leave immediately.
You must be the Savant. I am an agent of the Holy Ordos, and I have questions for you.
I only answer to the Machine Guard, Inquisitor. The work I'm doing here is of paramount importance. We must be prepared for the return of the Hive fleet.
This is treachery, and you will pay for your insolence.
I don't think so. But I hope you don't mind participating in a little experiment first.
The funny part is this Adeptus Mechanicus guy, he's not wrong in trying to figure out, how to prepare to fight the Hive fleet. But, back to my point, you see corporate and stuff like focus groups really ruining a product. And I could definitely see that, or even just flat out inexperience, People were like, oh yeah, I played Space Marine, therefore I know what needs to be in a good 40k shooter, or I understand 40k. I read 3 pages on the 40K wiki, I clearly know what's going on. And it's like, no, it's not as simple as that. Like, yeah, the wiki's great. You can get some good information, but it's not, 3 pages and you're good. It's not, oh, I played 4 hours of Space Marine, I understand everything. You need to, look at what games have succeeded, what games have failed, what's interesting about them, stuff like that. You also need to understand how to make a game. I still remember with Infinite Crusade, the absolute state of the the Terminator models. How you screw up a Terminator, I have yet to figure out. It's not like they're a rarely seen unit. It's not like there aren't countless models you can look at for inspiration. It's not like they haven't been in video games, in artwork, in literally everything. It's at that point I feel as though maybe Games Workshop needs to just step in more when it comes to licensing their products. Because they take this very hands-off approach of, oh, you want to make a game with our IP? Sure, here's our rules, do whatever you want within them. Well, as we've seen with a lot of these 40K games, you can be within their constraints and still make crap. And the thing is, if your brand becomes associated with just garbage, people aren't gonna want to buy anything associated with your brand. You turn your brand into poison. And that is not a good look. The people who are going to make your games are going to be people looking for a quick buck, or people who are known for making shoddy products, because they're like, oh, well, they're like, nobody's making games for these guys, so I can likely get something cheap and then pump out something cheap and make money. So they need to really kind of step in and say, hey, we're willing to invest, or we're willing to put some of our cash on the line to make sure this product succeeds and makes us money. We'll do it, we just demand a cut, which is completely reasonable. Because you know what other franchise screwed this up too? Resident Evil. Remember Operation Raccoon City? I love the game, but man, that game is hated. Or Umbrella Corps, a game even more hated. These were games made by third parties that just went to Capcom and said, hey, we want to make a game using your branding. And Capcom just said, sure, give us money. Honestly, I haven't touched a Resident Evil game since effectively after Operation Raccoon City. I just stopped playing them. People are like, oh man, Resident Evil 7's so good. I was like, nah. I feel like they're going to screw it up somehow. Because they don't seem to care too much about their brand. Because they're just willing to sign off on anything. And even though people say 7 is good, I still look at it and I'm like, it's mold zombies. It's kind of hard to sell me on being attacked by fungus. And then it bugs me. It's the curse of, I know these companies can do better. I don't get why they aren't. But I've seen that a lot, like, Square Enix, they have a mobile battle royale coming out for Final Fantasy. It's like Final Fantasy VII, The First Soldier or something. I saw it and it turned my normal depression into super depression. I was just sitting there thinking, damn, you really went this way, huh?
What are you doing here, Ted Priest?
Displaying necessary initiative. Accessing the mainframe requires knowledge of Tier 4 administrative charts. Defend the area while the process is being completed.
I appreciate your resourcefulness, but next time you must ask my permission first.
For your information, Inquisitor, I will record your combat for further analysis. First, I found your intrusion bothersome, but I realize that your presence here grants me the opportunity to study the combat patterns of the Tyranids more thoroughly. You are doing the work of the Omnissiah.
Oh wow, they just walked right around my minefield. I kinda done goofed on that one, huh? Stop touching my priest. You don't hear that very often. Telling creatures to stop touching the priest instead of telling the priest to stop touching people. Oh, it's terrible. Hey, do I get turrets? Yes, turrets. Turret. Oh, turrets. Yes.
I have spent decades working on my synaptic Sueno generator unit, but it was a failure. I set out to build a device that could control the Tyranids, and it was deemed impossible. But I can't give up on my vision yet.
And that's not a bad idea for that, for the Savant. A way to counter the Tyranids is to create a synthetic synapse to control them. But I mean, it depends on how they're controlled because, I mean, they kind of work weird. Boy, I love that minefield just didn't... Oh, there, it did something finally. This is a lot of guys. Because the Tyranids are weird, because the synapse... It isn't strictly just pheromones. And it's not something as simple as a,
The persistence of my misguided brother there is getting frustrating, Inquisitor. Just like your unwelcome visit. I know you want to judge me, but I seek to save the Imperium. These organisms pose a huge threat. If we could find a way to control them one day, just think about the potential.
but it's not a, like, psionic thing either. Because they mess with how the warp is. And can block out, you know, astropaths and stuff like that. So, clearly the synapse is something different. Could you imagine if there were actual creatures like this? How absolutely terrifying they would be. disregarding the whole, like, oh, they're devourers who consume planets bit, but just the fact that they're super adaptive, they're very resilient, they're able to network in a way we don't. Our closest rough thing is ants, and even then that's a very simplistic way of how they interact and communicate, while these things seem to do far
Scans
more.
show no more incoming hostiles. Also, data analysis complete. Voidport structural records have been processed. The location of the underground facility is available.
Excellent. It is time to pay a visit to that treacherous madman and discuss these experiments.
Hey, we finished. So, with that done, that's all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.